So Icebreaker has returned to Destiny, a weapon that was once thought to never come back into this game after it just had a reign of terror in Destiny 1, being basically an infinite money glitch, but for the ammo economy in Destiny. This obviously ended up being not the case, as it returned in the Vesper's Host dungeon with the episode Revenant launch. So that begged the question, well, they're bringing back Icebreaker, but how good is it actually going to be? Because there's no way they're going to bring it back to how it was when it originally launched in Destiny 1. So for the changes, there's a lot of good news and a little bit of bad news. The little bit of bad news is that the weapon basically is not usable against bosses, or at least raid bosses. Not that it just doesn't do damage, but it is very limited in what it can do in raid boss situations, as opposed to other weapons that are comically insane, like, you know, Still Hunt, Choir of One, and so on. And you might be wondering, well, why is it not really good for raid bosses? Well, let me explain with what the weapon does now in Destiny 2. Icebreaker is an energy slot exotic sniper that has 10 shots in the magazine. You might be thinking, wow, that's a big number for a sniper rifle to have in one magazine. That's pretty cool. Well, you know how many bullets it has in the reserves? It has 0. It has literally 0 reserves. In fact, the reload speed stat is just literally 0 because there's nothing to reload. Now, that is a little bit of a downside, and that's the main component on why the sniper is not good against things like raid bosses, because you have 10 shots, cool, but 10 shots is not going to mean a whole lot against bosses that have 15, 20, 25 million health. Overall, other weapons are going to beat it by a country mile. So that's the downside. The upside is that this weapon can be used very efficiently in crowd control builds or anything in the game that has a lot of ad density. That is because of the new changes to the weapon, which are, first you have the weapon perk, literally just called Icebreaker, which states defeating a target with this weapon causes them to explode, and precision final blows or shattering a frozen target instead triggers an ignition. Keep this in mind. Then we have the intrinsic trait of the weapon called No Backpack. Final blows or assists with any other weapon or ability have a chance to create ammo for Icebreaker, and defeating powerful commands will create multiple rounds. So, the weapon doesn't have any reserves initially, but with the 10 shots that you do have, you can shoot and kill enemies or assist on enemy kills, and then get ammo back that way. Now that on its own is pretty good. You can definitely fit it into certain builds that abuse ability spam, for example, and then make ammo out of that after using some initial shots here and there. But it also has one more component to add to this, and that is the Icebreaker Catalyst that has been discovered in the Vesper's Host dungeon. And the Catalyst states landing a hit on a slowed or frozen target has a chance to return the round to the magazine. So, not only do you have a chance to generate ammo off of just hitting / killing enemies, but also, if you land a hit with Icebreaker on a slowed or frozen target, you now have a chance to just return the round back to the magazine. Essentially, if things fall into place correctly, not only will you get your round back, but you'll just literally make extra surplus ammo back into your mag, assuming you weren't already at 10 shots. Now, after spending 46 years inside the Vesper's Host dungeon and getting the Icebreaker Catalyst, my light bulb went off above my head, and I thought, okay, this has a lot of synergy with Stasis, clearly, right? And then Stasis is very good at crowd control. Not only that, but this particular episode, they buffed the hell out of Stasis, and I can utilize that to get free ignitions off of crowds of enemies, right? So, the first thought I had was, hey, let me go try out that busted hunter build that I made on day 1 of this episode. Here's the thumbnail here for that insane build if you want to go check it out. It'll be in the description. But I wanted to see, okay, if I just go full-on crowd control and try to freeze and shatter and slow enemies non-stop and then shoot Icebreaker at them, how well can I keep my ammo up? And the answer to that is, it is comically easy to not only keep your ammo up, but you literally just get free ammo out of thin air and ignite enemies around you every time that you shatter or freeze them. So in the background footage, you're going to be seeing me utilizing my Stasis kit, plus artifact mods, plus the Mask of Fealty, which is the new Hunter exotic, to basically generate as many melees as possible for my Withering Blades. And while I'm doing this, I'm also creating Stasis Crystals and Stasis Shards, which regen my melee back, as well as obviously the whole freeze, slow, and shatter of the enemies, right? And then, anytime that any of them are frozen and are still alive, I will shoot Icebreaker at them, which makes them explode not only for shattering, but also the ignition. And any enemies that die from any of this can generate me ammo back into Icebreaker. This essentially creates an endless loop where I will be able to crowd control targets and then immediately blow them up with Icebreaker without actually technically wasting any ammo at all. The only time this falls apart is, of course, if you run out of enemies to actually play around with, and you have to just shoot a boss dead on the entire time. Then, obviously, you're going to lose your ammo and be forced to use other weapons. Speaking of other weapons, you can still use those to complement this as well. Remember, this doesn't just work with my abilities, this can work off of just getting kills with other weapons too. So whether that be champion stunning weapons, or maybe DPS weapons, rockets, GLs, etc., you can do whatever you want. The point is, as long as you're just getting crowd control in there and then getting kills, you will never run out of ammo and never have to worry about doing things like special ammo finders, special finishers, and so on ever again. Also, something tells me that Act 2 or Act 3 will probably have something in the artifact mods that'll link itself to Icebreaker, making it that much better in this episode, because right now Bungie just loves adding extra layers of power creep to the game. Oh, one more thing. The funny part about this is the footage you're seeing with Mask of Fealty. Yeah, right now, that helmet is actually bugged and is very inconsistent in actually proccing what it's supposed to do. So everything you're seeing will actually just become even better once Bungie fixes that helmet. But in the meantime, it's still working great, and I love shattering and making everything explode in Onslaught while farming new weapons, so it works out well for me. But you guys let me know what you think based on the footage. Have you gotten Icebreaker? Do you plan to get the Catalyst? Do you want to run around with this kind of build? And speaking of which, do you guys want to see a version of this with Titan and Warlock? I imagine Warlock will probably fit very well with this Icebreaker strat. Titans, I'd have to think about it, because they're mostly just about smashing stasis crystals and not just freezing targets. We'll see. In the meantime, if you do plan to get the Icebreaker Catalyst, I have a video for that already on the channel as well. Here you go. It'll be in the description below as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. But aside from that, if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or comment below as well. And if you don't know what to leave as a comment, you could just leave Icebreaker as a comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.